So you want to build those big juicy Death Star deltoids, but with all the conflicting advice online, you're more confused than Alex Eubanks trying to explain why his 200 milligrams of TRT doesn't count as steroids. Well, this will be the only video you'll ever need to watch. I'll be ranking all shoulder exercises based on how effective they are from S tier all the way down to F tier. First off, my credentials. This is me 3 years ago, this is me 1 year ago, and then this is me 4 months ago, peak bulk, looking chunky as hell. As you can see, I managed to grow pretty wide shoulders as a natural lifter, so I feel like I'm a pretty decent fit for ranking these exercises. Let's get into the ranking. Dumbbell overhead press. If you want to train your front delts, this is absolutely the best option there is. It has all the benefits of the barbell overhead press when it comes to hypertrophy and being able to load heavy, with the added benefits of a slightly increased range of motion and having the flexibility to position your arms in a way that's most comfortable to you. Dumbbell overhead press is going to the S tier. Barbell overhead press. Just like the dumbbell overhead press, this is a fantastic exercise to build your front delts, although from a bodybuilding perspective, I would recommend dumbbells over this exercise, as you may be more prone to muscle imbalances when using barbell due to your stronger side being able to overcompensate for your weaker side. Regardless, this mainly comes down to preference. This is still a fantastic exercise. I'm putting it into the A tier category. Behind the neck overhead press. Whenever an old head comes up to you in the gym and tells you to do this exercise, just know that whenever they say no pain, no gain, the pain they are talking about is chronic shoulder pain. This exercise is one big safety hazard. If you're not flexible enough, you can really mess up your neck and spine, and it also forces your shoulders into external rotation, which can be bad for your rotator cuff and can cause shoulder impingement. You're pretty much just taking the barbell overhead press, not making it any better, and adding 3 times the chance of injury. I'm putting this exercise in the F tier category. Front raises. I guess this is a viable exercise to build your front delts, but just do a variation of overhead press. To quote Tom Platz,
but why? Why do an inferior movement? Why do a movement that looks good, but it produces hardly any results?
overhead presses are simply superior by every metric. You don't need to be doing front delt isolation work at all. They get more than enough volume on any kind of pushing movement. You're much better off spending that time doing extra sets of isolation movements for your side and rear delts. Front dumbbell raises are going to C tier category. Arnold press. Despite being the absolute goat of bodybuilding, Arnold somehow managed to come up with a more useless front delt exercise than front raises. It's basically a dumbbell overhead press, except for this stupid useless movement at the bottom that does literally nothing except for limit how heavy you're able to load this exercise. You're taking one of the key advantages of the shoulder press and trading it in for whatever this bottom movement is supposed to do. People like to say that it trains your side delts too, but just do a couple of extra sets of lateral raises, infinitely more effective. Doing an Arnold press is basically like trying to reinvent the wheel, except the wheel was already perfect and now it just looks like a pretzel. It's stupid, so this exercise is going to the D tier category. Lateral raises. In my opinion, the most important exercise for shoulder aesthetics. This is the best way to build your side delts, whether by dumbbell, cable, or machine. Little side note though, I would recommend cable and machine over dumbbells, because with machine and cables, the force is always perfectly tangential to the arc of your range of motion, so resistance stays the same throughout the entire movement. Whereas with free weights, the force is always straight down, which is nearly useless at the bottom of the movement. This basically means that dumbbell lateral raises offer relatively no resistance at the bottom of the range of motion, compared to cable and machines, which offer the same resistance all throughout the range of motion. Or to put it even more simply so even Unga and Bunga here could understand, dumbbell easy at start, cable and machine not easy at start. However, unless you're a professional bodybuilder that needs every single aspect of his training to be dialed to make gains, you'll be just fine doing dumbbells as well. I'm putting lateral raises, whether by dumbbell, cable, or machine, in the S tier. Upright rows. This is another one of those exercises that's better left in the 90s. I'll just let Jeff Cavalier tell you why it's bad.
Okay, so right off the bat, we're getting internal rotation. Now, the goal is to lift the bar. So you got elevation with internal rotation. That is a bad combination. I said before in another video, when we test somebody for impingement and try to see if they have it, we take their arm, we put it like this, we internally rotate it, and we lift it up. And they go, oh, that hurts. Because it should, because you're creating impingement. That is exactly the position that's being created by this exercise.
Even if by some measure Jeff is wrong and this exercise isn't nearly as dangerous for your shoulders as he claims it is still objectively an unnatural movement for your body, and lateral raises will simply hit your side delts way more effectively without the possible risk of injury. I'm putting these in the F tier category. Reverse pec deck machine. This is a pretty good rear delt exercise. It isolates your rear delts pretty well and locks your body in position so you can't cheat your reps. However, for me personally, this movement just feels a little unnatural channel, and it also doesn't have the benefit of another exercise that's coming up where you can pull the weight in line with the muscle fibers of your rear delts, which run diagonally. Still, this is a good exercise to have in your arsenal for rear delts. I'm putting it in the B tier category. Face pulls. Personally, my favorite exercise for rear delts. As long as you're performing the exercise correctly, this hits your rear delts pretty good. However, this is not an isolation movement. It hits other muscles in your upper back as well, which can be a good thing depending on how you look at it, but most people with underdeveloped rear delts would benefit more from doing a rear delt isolation movement. Therefore, I'm putting this exercise in the A tier. Cable rear delt flies. This is absolutely the cleanest way to isolate your rear delts. For the same reason that I explained earlier with lateral raises, you're keeping constant tension on your rear delts throughout the entire movement, opposed to dumbbell rear delt flies, and you can adjust the angle perfectly so that you're pulling the weight diagonally like you see in this picture, which makes it so that you're pulling in line with the muscle fibers in your rear delts, which is simply the most effective and optimal way to train them. Absolutely beautiful exercise. I'm putting these in the S tier. Bent over reverse dumbbell flies. This is another one of those exercises where if dumbbells are the only thing you have available to you, these will serve you just fine when it comes to hitting your rear delts. But if you have access to cables, there's no excuse to do these instead of reverse cable flies. However, as long as you are executing the form perfectly and not cheating on any of your reps, this is a very viable way to train your rear delts. I'm putting these in the B tier category. Alright, so that was the video. Quick little side note, only 1.5% of you who watched my last video are subscribed to the channel, so consider subscribing and dropping a like if you enjoyed the video. It helps the channel out a ton. Thanks again for watching. See you guys in the next video.